Right, this year's UN Climate Change Conference wrapped up last week in Marrakesh after 2 long weeks, and the most vulnerable countries committed to 100% renewables as soon as possible. We have ICSC Executive Director Red Constantino, who is here with us live to share some insights. Red, first of all, tell us, you said a tiring 2 weeks in Marrakesh. How was it?
It was really grueling. It was 2 weeks. It was from November 7 to November 18. At first, there was a little doubt, growing uncertainty, especially with the U.S. elections outcome. But in the end, everything finished well. Again, like Paris, vulnerable countries, the small nations carried the day and said, if the big countries are concerned or hesitant to lead, then we will lead. And I think that was a big signal that gained the response from countries like China and Germany that said, we will be a strong partner, let us work together.
Okay, you mentioned China. Did they mention anything or any plans of theirs about how they would lessen their emissions? Because they're one of the biggest emitters of carbon here in Asia.
China has never shirked from its role in the climate negotiations because its domestic action is pretty evident. They've been closing massive numbers of coal mines and suspending the permits of coal-fired power stations. Of course, there's still a long way to go, but the direction of China is very clear, and it's something that the Philippines needs to pay attention to. It is moving away from fossil fuels and moving towards a more renewable energy-led economy. And that is something we need to learn from as we engage the Chinese economy more and more.
Okay, let's move on to our other big trading partner, the United States. A lot of uncertainty here with, you mentioned President Trump, of course, as president-elect and going to be president next year. Now, are you still confident that they will be able to move forward with their commitments? We know also the U.S., of course, a big industrialized state.
No one knows for certain what the Trump administration will do, whether the recount will result in something else. Our reading is not looking simply at the Trump administration, but at what the states are prepared to do. Cities, mayors, local governments, non-state actors are telling the U.S. administration that they will move ahead on climate action, including businesses, including civil society there. So the whole world is moving towards a certain direction. The ones who don't follow will be isolated because the climate crisis requires all hands on deck.
All right, well, you mentioned that the setup of the United States, federalism. Let's bring it back home. Now, President Duterte at first said that he would defer all these climate change recommendations to, the stakeholders, meaning the necessary agencies and you guys as civil society organizations. Now, how are we doing on this ratification? I know we've moved forward. He already agreed. So where are we on this exactly at the moment?
First, I think when President Duterte spoke on the climate issue, he spoke from a position of experience. He is not new to the climate issue. He's been engaged with climate change politics and action ever since he was a mayor. And so what he brings to the table is a keen awareness of this issue of climate justice. And that is what his message was to his cabinet and to civil society that are really supportive of this administration's aims to curb destructive practices in the extractive industry and to promote clean, affordable, reliable power. My understanding, our basic reading is that every single agency in the President's cabinet have endorsed the ratification of the Paris Agreement, except for the Department of Energy.
What's holding that back?
I think it's a misreading of the Department of Energy of what they see as threats in the Paris Agreement, threats to their own plans. We think this is a gross misreading. We do not fear the fact that the Department of Energy is closely studying this matter and that they will emerge reflecting with a position that reflects the President's views, which is this is not a threat. In fact, signing this agreement and endorsing climate action will be good and will spur industrialization in the country.
Okay, I guess you're referring to our energy mix, which is still a lot of coal, right? What are your views on coal, and do you really think it will take us that long to change our energy mix into mostly renewables? I know we're going towards 100%, but we're still so far from that. We're still almost half coal.
we are very confident that the country will move towards renewable energy in the next few years, largely driven by the economic realities that renewable energy is becoming more and more cheap. It's going, the prices of renewable energy is declining rapidly. In Morocco, the bid price for wind was 1 peso 30 centavos this year.
Okay, so let me bring that back again to the Philippines, okay? All these renewable energies, wind, for example, would cost maybe, I'm not really sure, but somewhere on the double digit, like 12, 13 pesos, when compared to coal at 3 to 4 pesos. How do we bridge that yawning gap?
Well, policies currently in the country are preventing Filipinos from enjoying the cleanest and most affordable source of power, which is renewable energy right now. If policies like the pass-through provision is changed and if the grid is modernized to allow more renewable energy into the mix, the Filipino people will enjoy not only renewable clean power but also the most affordable ones. United Arab Emirates, the bid price is already 1 peso 45 centavos for solar. We should be enjoying the same rates if policy changes take place rapidly over the next few years. We are as abundant in renewable energy as any other country in the world.
All right, so you said that in your report that by 2050, global GDP will really be hit. So we're looking at if we emit a little bit of carbon, it's just a loss of about 21 trillion. If we emit a lot high, it's 33. Now, either way, it looks like a lose-lose situation to me. Why are we losing on both ends, even if we lessen our emissions?
Well, there are two facts that are really important to consider. The first is that even if all the high-emitting countries stop emitting tomorrow, countries like the Philippines and Bangladesh or Burkina Faso will still need to contribute their fair share because we won't make it. Second, if our goal is to industrialize and to develop, if we do not contribute to this crisis and we do not reach, we breach what is considered the safe threshold in terms of temperature rise, all our development goals will be out of reach.
Okay, Red, we're running out of time, but I really just want to ask you this. Can you name one case study here in the country, an initiative being undertaken that can kind of stand as a case of how we should peg our plans to moving forward?
Well, apart from low-carbon strategies, we commend the leadership of Secretary Sunny Dominguez of the Department of Finance. They approved last Tuesday a 140 million peso grant to the towns of Lanuz and Del Carmen for them to put together a Ridge to Reef and climate field school services for adaptation in their areas that will make them not only more resilient but more sustainable. That's the DOF acting with a sense of urgency, and we feel hope with such action taking place.
All right, good times for Surigao ahead. Thank you very much for joining us, Red Constantino from the ICSC.